This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has outdone himself this time in what can only be described as a desperate attempt to score political points with the far left. He boasted that he had housed a migrant above his garage and then dared federal authorities to come after her. Now, as the backlash mounts, his office is scrambling to walk it all back, claiming he was misinterpreted and that the whole thing was blown out of proportion. Really? Murphy wasn't just making an offhand remark. He was in full performance mode, telling an audience that he had welcomed an undocumented immigrant into his home and openly taunting the federal government, saying, quote, "Good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her." Close quote. That's not a misinterpretation. That's a governor taking a radical position in an attempt to pander to the progressive base. And now that he's been called on it, his team is scrambling for cover, claiming no one's ever lived in the home under those circumstances. So which is it, Phil? This is the problem with politicians like Governor Murphy. They're so eager to virtue signal that they don't even bother to think through the consequences of their words. If he really did harbor someone who's in the country illegally, he's essentially admitting to obstructing federal immigration enforcement. And if he didn't, then he's just another empty suit making things up to score political points. Either way, it makes him look foolish, dishonest, or both. And let's not overlook the larger context here. Murphy's ridiculous posturing comes at a time when New Jersey, like much of the country, is dealing with the real consequences of the Biden administration's disastrous immigration policies. Sanctuary cities and states have become overwhelmed with migrants. Crime has spiked and public resources are being stretched thin. Yet Murphy and his fellow Democrats want to act like this is all some grand moral crusade, while everyday Americans are left to deal with the fallout. Then, just to top it all off, Murphy went on to make an absurd historical comparison, likening Trump's return to the White House to the rise of Nazi Germany. This is straight out of the progressive fear-mongering playbook. Turn every Republican into a fascist boogeyman while ignoring the actual failures of Democratic leadership. It's tired, it's baseless, and it's embarrassing. The bottom line, Murphy's little stunt backfired spectacularly. If he truly housed a migrant and defied federal law, he should be held accountable. If he made it up, then he's just another unserious politician playing make-believe for applause. Either way, the Murphy wing of the Democratic Party looks more ridiculous by the day, and regular Americans who actually have to deal with the real-life consequences of open border policies aren't buying the act anymore.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. Imagine being locked up in a jail cell because you've been convicted of a crime, but because there's simply nowhere else for you to go. That's the grim reality for at least 127 people currently languishing on Rikers Island, people who have been found by psychiatrists to be unfit to stand trial. They don't belong in jail, yet there they sit, some waiting over 100 days for a spot in a state-run mental health facility that doesn't have the space to take them in. This is an absolute disgrace, not just from a moral standpoint, but from a legal one. We have a criminal justice system that acknowledges people cannot be held responsible for their actions if they are too mentally ill to understand what's happening to them. And yet, we're locking them up in one of the most dangerous, chaotic, and overcrowded jails in the country, a place that is notoriously bad at providing adequate mental health care. How did we get here? The state simply has not prioritized mental health facilities for people in the criminal justice system. Governor Hochul has added a mere 25 beds at state hospitals, and while she's promising a new 100-bed facility on Rikers Island, criminal justice advocates point out that none of those beds will be in maximum security facilities that can take people from Rikers. In other words, the people who need help the most are being left in limbo. Meanwhile, the city says it's doing all it can, moving detainees as soon as beds become available. But that doesn't change the fact that these individuals, many of whom are so confused and ill that they refuse to leave their cells, are being forced to survive in a system that's failing them at every turn. They're unable to advocate for themselves. They're not receiving the level of psychiatric care they need. And worst of all, they're stuck in a facility that was never meant to be a mental hospital, effectively criminalizing mental illness. This is not just a crisis of conscience, it's a legal failing. The courts have determined these individuals are unfit to stand trial, yet they remain imprisoned. Deprived of due process, it's as if they've been sentenced without a trial, locked away indefinitely in conditions that will only make their mental state worse. One man, Bernard Durr, has been trapped in this cycle for 15 years. 15 years! This should be unacceptable in any civilized society. If the state can't make space, then the city has to act. The newspaper, The City, has a great article about this that people should check out. To be continued.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
It's an incredibly sad day for journalism and an even sadder day for New Jersey. The Star-Ledger, the state's longtime paper of record, is printing its final edition this weekend. I guess technically it was this past weekend. And the Jersey Journal, not just ending its print run, ceasing to exist entirely. When the presses go silent, New Jersey will become one of only 2 states in the entire country without a primary print newspaper. This isn't just a New Jersey problem, it's part of a much larger trend, the increasing disappearance of local newspapers. Since 2005, over 3,200 newspapers across the country have shut down, creating vast news deserts where communities have little to no access to credible local reporting. New Jersey alone has lost 129 newspapers, more than half of its print publications. And now the state's largest newspaper is abandoning print altogether. This is a real disservice to the people of New Jersey. The Star-Ledger wasn't just a newspaper, it was an institution. It exposed corruption, influenced policy, and kept government accountable. The Jersey Journal covered Hudson County, one of the most politically colorful and historically corrupt regions in the country, and certainly within the state of New Jersey. Without these watchdogs, who will be left to call out the wrongdoing? Who will keep an eye on Trenton? Who will document the history of our communities? the triumphs and the tragedies in a way that lasts beyond a fleeting digital post. The executives at NJ Advanced Media, which owns the Star-Ledger, claim they're simply adapting to changing reader habits. They point to NJ.com's 15.2 million clicks per month as proof that digital is the future. But let's be honest, an online-only model is not the same. It's not just about nostalgia for ink-stained fingers and clippings stuck to the fridge. It's about the depth of coverage, the permanence of print, and the accessibility of a physical newspaper that doesn't disappear behind a paywall or get lost in an algorithm. Losing these newspapers isn't just about losing news. It's about losing a community's voice. It's about losing a sense of place. And without strong local journalism, there's no telling what might happen. But I can tell you this, it won't be good. We need more newspapers, not fewer. We need more print publications, not just digital substitutes. Because when the last press stops rolling, democracy itself becomes just a little bit weaker.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The number one selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
New Yorkers know a shakedown when they see one, and that's exactly what the MTA has been pulling for decades. Now, Donald Trump is calling their bluff, and frankly, it's about time. For years, the MTA has mismanaged billions in taxpayer dollars, using New Yorkers like an ATM while providing service that is unreliable, unsafe, and downright embarrassing. And their latest scheme, congestion pricing, is nothing more than a cash grab designed to squeeze every last dime from hardworking commuters. The promise? That this new tax on drivers will magically fix the MTA's financial woes. The reality? Just another slush fund for bureaucrats with no real accountability or results. Now, Trump is stepping in and saying enough is enough. By pulling federal approval for congestion pricing, he's not only saving drivers from yet another toll, but forcing New York's leaders to finally take responsibility for their disastrous fiscal policies. And he's absolutely right to tie federal transportation dollars to cooperation with immigration enforcement. Why should taxpayers across America, many of whom live in cities that actually enforce the law, be forced to subsidize a sanctuary state that openly defies federal immigration policy? New York's leaders want to welcome illegal immigrants with open arms. But they expect the rest of the country to foot the bill? No. That's not just bad policy, it's insanity. Governor Kathy Hochul is scrambling, as she should be. She knows that without congestion pricing, the MTA is in a financial freefall, but instead of addressing the root problem, massive waste, bloated salaries, and zero accountability, she's doubling down. She claims New York is a donor state that sends more money to Washington than it gets back. But there's a truth to this. New York doesn't have a revenue problem. It's got a spending problem. And until that changes, throwing more federal money at the MTA is just flushing it down the drain. So Trump is playing hardball, just like he did on the tariffs and some other issues. Good. It's about time someone stood up for everyday New Yorkers who are sick of being taxed into oblivion while their quality of life plummets. If Hochul and the MTA want more money, let them earn it by cleaning up their act, not by shaking down taxpayers and commuters yet again. We'll see what happens, but so far, when it comes to New York and the congestion pricing issue, I'm pretty optimistic with what we're hearing from the Trump White House. We'll see what happens. To be continued.